Good morning.
Morning. Just since Saturday, how has this win sunk in, and what have the last day and a half been like here on campus?
Yeah, it was a great win, exciting game. A lot of things to learn from, good and bad, as far as things we can improve on. But the way to keep fighting and battling, I think is a huge lesson. But now it's time to move on. With the 24-hour rule, we take a little bit of time to enjoy, but now it's on to the next one. But one of the things that was really cool was received a few text messages of people who brought their children to the game and had said that it was a lesson to their kids never to give up. And that's pretty cool when, a football game can have an effect like that. It was pretty neat, and I hope it's something that our kids will take away for the rest of their life here. And but it's for sure a memory that these guys will never forget and form a bond for them as a team of, when they get together 40 years from now to say, hey, remember that game, type of thing. But now it's on to the next.
How neat is it for guys like Carlton Johnson to have had his moment, and Elijah Gilliam to recover a fumble, and even Zane Pope to have the type of game he had that all contributed to the victory?
Yeah, especially Carlton. He hadn't been on the field all year long. It was his first time to even be on the field, and to come up with that play was huge. And then, it really took everybody. Those people, kind of the names you mentioned, they played a significant role. But it's a total team effort, and a lot of guys played really hard and had to have some backups fill in places, and so I thought the coaches did a really nice job of preparing the kids and making sure that they were ready to go and just continue to play hard. I thought Coach Kirby did a nice job down the stretch when, trying to call the right plays and do certain things. When we were having challenges, in protecting, that was an awesome defense. It really was, and the things they were bringing at us was very difficult. But which kind of only they can do. It's their system, and they do it very fast. But to call plays where we get the ball out of our hands and things like that down the stretch was really important. So I thought he did a really nice job.
Are there any updates on Bull, Lux, Watson, anyone else?
Yeah, Dante really is the only one. The other ones, we have to wait and see today how things go. But Dante's out for the year. He broke his leg. He had surgery yesterday. And so it's really unfortunate for Dante. The guy's been plagued by a lot of injuries through his time here. And, to end it like that for him, pretty significant break that required surgery. And so really feel bad for him.
Could you share your initial outlook on Hawaii and what you're expecting this weekend?
Yeah, we're just getting into them now. Obviously it wasn't a good experience at Hawaii last year. And, so, we'll look a little bit of that, and then obviously look at the personnel for this year and what's going on. And, but they can be dangerous on offense for sure. And, they've had their moments through the year where they've been successful, So in every single game, we just have to stay focused with everything we do and have a great week of preparation and, try to take one day at a time.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
I noticed after the game you gave a hug to Carlton Johnson. You just talked about him a little bit, but what convinced you to first bring him into the game to replace Lux? And what convinced you to embrace him the way you did after the game?
Well, because, he was having a really good camp when he was in training camp, and I think it was like the week before the first game or maybe 10 days before the first game. He dropped a weight on his foot and broke his foot in the weight room. And, so it's been a long road back for him. That's a long time ago, right? And so he's just been being part of the team and being positive. And when he was finally able to play, because he's a good player, and so Lux went down, and so he filled in, and to be able to do that, I was really happy for him. I was happy that he made a play for the team like that was so significant. but just proud of him for continuing to keep on and get back and keep himself ready to go mentally. Because when you're out of action for so long, sometimes you lose sight of the mental part of the game. But to have enough confidence, Coach Coyle and defensive staff to have enough confidence to put him in, and he did a nice job. He also covered kicks on, he was on special teams as well, and so I was just happy that anytime somebody like that who's been through an injury that's lasted however many weeks since August, right? I guess. Happy for them that they made an impact, and happy for the team, but also happy for him personally.
Can we expect to see more Johnson this season in that cornerback rotation?
Carlton?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see week to week. It depending on how people practice and what the game plan is and who we're playing and what the matchups are. We kind of personnel it depending on all that each and every week. But yeah, I would think that he would be in the rotation.
And last question for me, how would you evaluate Jake Haener's first performance back in terms of how did he look on the field health-wise, and what did you think of his fourth quarter comeback?
Yeah, he looked great, I thought. He was 100%. He used his legs too. He got out of the pocket. He scrambled a couple times. I thought he played great. Two unfortunate things. One of the picks down the sideline, Kelly was stumbling and, wasn't able to make a play on the ball because he was falling down. And then the other one in the end zone got tipped at the line of scrimmage. So I don't know if anybody saw that. They just saw it being underthrown, but he got tipped at the line of scrimmage. But besides that, I thought he played great. He protected the football in the pocket because there was a lot of stuff coming at him in the pocket, and protected the football in the pocket, but extremely accurate with the ball. The 2-point conversion, I don't know if throws get better than that. The touchdown pass to Pope on the left could have been a better throw. It was perfect. So I was really happy for Jake to bounce back like that and lead the team. And, the fourth quarter type stuff, when, you're always in it. If it's a close game, you're always in it, that he can do a lot of special things. And so it was just another example of him keeping his poise and keeping the team moving and guys making plays.
Coach, you talked about being always in it, but, mathematically, I'm sure you've seen the different probabilities. At one point, it was 99.9% probable San Diego State wins. How do you explain what happened and what made it happen?
No, I haven't seen all the percentages. That's the last thing I think about at that point is, it's 99, almost 100% we're not going to win this game. No, it's really it was just a lot of things that, to tell you the truth, that we work on quite often, right? We work on trying to get turnovers. We put a nice drive together. I thought Coach Moore did a great job of calling the drive down and then ran the ball. We'd been throwing, and then ran the ball with Mims to get it in the end zone. And then to be able to get an onside kick, which we work on all the time, I thought that was executed really well. Not only the touchdown with Mims, and it's a 2-point conversion. So all the things you said, Paul, was touchdown, 2-point conversion, onside kick, and then another touchdown. Probability of that probably isn't real high. I would admit that. But that's why you work at it. That's why you work on those scenarios and those situations. It's not like, we stumbled into it. It's stuff we practice, and the kids did a great job of executing.
And I know, you talk about the kids always having something to learn. The players have something to learn every practice, every game, and all that. Is there anything that game, that finish, that experience taught you?
No, not really. I mean, there's always different situations in games, right? So we start using timeouts with 4 minutes to play, right? And so because we had to have a couple scores, especially when the field goal got blocked, then the probability probably even went up higher that you can't pull this off, right? Because that would have made it an 8-point game, a 1-score game at that point. So now we're still needing 2 scores. So we started using timeouts early to make sure that they didn't run the ball out. And, there was a lot of really good efforts that kind of go unnoticed a little bit. like Johnny Hudson chasing down their quarterback to the sideline and not only preventing him from making a first down, but him running out of bounds to stop the clock when we were really, out of timeouts. And so those little things are so critical in those situations of talking about running to the ball, right? The importance of running to the ball, not just to make a tackle, but to have somebody go out of bounds to preserve a timeout or stop the clock. Those little things like that. But, I've been in a lot of football games over my career and, always know that anything's possible. Fortunately, probably had it happen to us somewhere along the line, but just to continue to believe in the kids and believe in what we're doing and staying focused all the time on the sideline, which I thought our kids did a great job of. There was never any doubt, anybody, having their head down. It was always a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and a lot of belief, right? We talk about that all the time, that we have to believe in what we're doing and play all 4 quarters. And, there was no better example than play all 4 quarters than last week.
I want to ask you about Hawaii, but one more question about Saturday night. Is that onside kick, if that doesn't happen, we're not having this kind of conversation right now. Can you help us understand what that feels like for a head coach watching the few seconds before and then the execution of that onside kick? Like what the emotions you experience through that whole process are like?
Well, oddly enough, for me, it's another play to execute, right? It's no different than throwing a deep dig route. If you execute, you protect, you throw, you catch, it's another football play. Now, was there a lot riding on that play? Yeah, there was. But at that point, I'm not really thinking about that. I'm just thinking, we're just kind of trying to get guys lined up and put in the right positions, because at that point we had a couple guys go down. Now we're trying to get backups in the right spot, get them to understand what goes on, all that stuff. There's a lot of things going on at that time. I really didn't think about whether this happens or whether it doesn't happen. It's just a matter of it's another play to go execute, and let's put the kids in a position they know what to do, and then trust them, trust their work, and because we work on that a lot in practice, and so I think our kids went into that play with a lot of confidence, because we do work on it quite a bit, so it was just great to see. Anytime you work on something so hard and then you're able to execute it, I think that's just a affirmation to the kids of why we do the things that we do.
And how about your scouting report on Hawaii, a team that like you has been steadily improving through the season, has had some moments where they've shown some potential? Yeah,
they really have. I mentioned that a minute ago about how you watch them on film, they do a lot of good things, they play hard, they could be explosive on offense, they have a good running back, their quarterback is good, they have a good group of receivers. They've played in, I don't know what the stat is, in a few of their losses, I don't know, it's like within one possession, and maybe 4 of their losses total 13 points, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So they've been in every game, and they've been really, really close in every game. And I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 or whatever it is of their losses is under 13 points, which those are tight games, right? Divide that by 4, you're not losing by much, right? So they're right on the verge, and I'm sure they're going to be hungry when they get here. And we need to keep our focus. Last year the outcome was not good at their place, so we have to have a great week of preparation, great week of focus.
Timmy Chang, what do you remember about him as a player? I think you were at Oregon and Cal during that stretch, but it's been 20 years. Do you remember how good of a quarterback he was?
He was a great player. Yeah, no doubt about it. Great player. Really good guy, too. I had never met him before personally. I'd always seen him as a player and either played against him or watched him play or whatever. But really good guy, really good young guy, bright mind as a coach. And through our meetings, our head coaches' meetings, have had a chance to interact with him, and really good guy. So they're in good hands with him. He's bright, young coach, very disciplined and dedicated to his craft, and so they're doing a good job. They're really, really close.
I'm just curious if you have any recollections of him as a quarterback. I mean, he was the NCAA's all-time passing leader by the time he left Hawaii. Do you remember any of the games when he was quarterback for the Rainbow Warriors?
Not specifically. I mean, I remember watching him. I don't remember his stats or anything like that. I know he's a good player. Threw for a lot of yards, but no, I don't remember if he had, any of his games specifically.
Coach, how do you get your run game going again?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. It's what are you asking? Because the week before we ran for 285 yards against the number 2 rushing defense in the conference. We rushed for 285 yards. So if you're asking about this last week, we just threw it a lot. The yardage thing is misleading because of the sacks. We got sacked 7 times. Those go on your rushing yards, right? Jordan didn't get hit in the backfield a bunch. We had positive plays in the run game, but then we got in a situation where we needed to get it downfield. So I don't think there's anything wrong with our run game when you say, how do you get it going again? Well, you're talking a week ago we rushed for 285 yards. So I don't really understand that question.
Nico Remigio has made some incredible plays this season, but are you concerned at how many times he hurdles defenders and how many times he's landing on his head?
No, he only landed, from what I've seen, he's landed on his head once, and that was the other night, which is never a good thing. But yeah, he's got an instinct for seeing when people are going to go low on him, and that's the way he chooses to approach it. And like to see him keep his feet on the ground, but he's a player, and he's going to do the things that he sees on the field. But he hasn't come up injured or anything like that because of it. Hopefully that never happens. But he's a competitor. He's a real. He does the same thing. He doesn't jump in practice or hurdle in practice, but he works hard every single play in practice. He loves to compete, and it was great to see him have an impact on the game the other night. Pope obviously had a huge game, but Nico had, I think equally as good a game, and obviously at the last touchdown, to be, the guy was right on his heels, and to break the tackle and then have the speed to score was a great play, but I think he leads the conference in all-purpose yardage, so he's a pretty important guy to us.
Coach, you and Hawaii, or Fresno State and Hawaii, are set for the 55th meeting in program history, and looking at the other opponents, when you have over 50 meetings, it seems like there's always a trophy on the line with San Jose State, San Diego State, and Boise State. Would you like to see a trophy added to this rivalry, and if so, what would that be?
I don't know. Those things are not, typically as I read the history of these trophies to the kids, they're from, the oil can was found at some construction site in San Diego, and that was because of the long trips over the Tejon Pass, and back in those days they needed extra water and oil and all that kind of stuff, and they found it at some construction site, and 2 alumni people came up with the idea to make it a trophy, so I'm really in no position to say there should be a trophy for this game or anything like that, or what it should be. It's just, I know this, I've been around here long enough to know, since, way back in the 90s, to know that we've had some key matchups with them, and we've taken really good teams to play them and come out on the wrong end of it a lot of times, and so we really know what they're capable of. Very good program, and we have a lot of respect for them.
I was just seeing if you had any ideas that we hadn't thought of. You touched on the text that you got regarding the never give up attitude of this team, specifically in that game, but now back at 500 on the season. Could you also say that as a whole? Maybe when this team was 1-4, did you kind of get that sense that this team hadn't given up on the season yet?
Yeah, I had that sense. I have that sense because of the way we go to practice every day. So I'd always felt that way. And, a lot of people may have thought differently because maybe they had given up, but to see these guys go to work every day and how they come prepared and the things that they do and trying to get themselves back healthy again with all the injuries that we've had. I don't know if you've noticed how many knee braces people were wearing the other night at the game. There's a lot of discipline and a lot that goes into getting yourself back ready to play, right? And so it's a full-time job. If you're not on the field, you're in the training room, you're still in meetings, you're still staying with it. So I've never had a feeling of any, and I've said this before, we've been disappointed, but I don't believe we've ever been discouraged. And so, and really to tell you the truth, I don't even look at the record right now. It's 1 week at a time, and that's really it. We kind of control our own destiny, and it's 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, how we approach our work, both on the football field, how we take care of our bodies, how do we try to stay healthy down the stretch. I told the team that the games to remember are the ones in November, which happen a lot, right? Because those are typically games that are for either bowl eligibility or conference championships or things like that. There's a lot of important games in November. And, and we've had our share of injuries. There's no doubt about it. And we've had to draw on some young guys to fill in. And, I think some of those young guys are improving because they're getting to feel what the game feels like and the speed of the game and all that kind of stuff. But it continues to happen. We'll see what the injury report looks like today. But, it's I don't think we've gone through one game unscathed without some sort of injury. All right, thank you.